Good morning and welcome to the First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Joanna Landsman. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to our Flower Communion Sunday service. I am so happy to be greeting you this morning. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take those words to heart. As we gather today, we acknowledge that our church and many of our homes are built on the ancestral land of the Wabanaki. We acknowledge the continued displacement and oppression of Indigenous people in Maine and across the country, and we stand in support of their commitments to survival, sovereignty, identity, and the protection of our world. We have a few announcements before we begin our service today. First, following our service this morning, we're all welcome to join us on our church grounds for an in-person celebration of Flower Communion at noon. During this time, we'll hold a traditional Flower Communion ritual, followed by a time of fellowship, during which folks can write cards to members of our community and decorate the church pathways with sidewalk chalk. We will also have copies of the new church directory to pass out. No matter your vaccination status, we do ask that all who join us in person today wear a mask. And if you can, please bring a flower to share in our ritual. We hope to see you at noon for this short, sweet celebration. Our second announcement is that next Sunday at 11:30, following our worship service, we'll hold our annual meeting on Zoom. During this time, we'll hear updates from the board, minister, committees, and councils, and First U members will be called to vote on the budget and on the new board slate. You can find a link to our annual report in Friday's channels, in the email that you received this morning with our worship information, and also on our website. And finally, Friday was National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and today some of us wear orange, the symbol color of the gun violence awareness movement, in honor of the lives lost to gun violence, the survivors of gun violence, and as a call for gun safety in our country. Those are our announcements this morning. And as we now begin our service, I invite you all to take a deep breath with me and settle into this sacred space and time. Reverend Hillary will now lead us into our worship.
Thank you, Joanna. And thank you, Sam, for the jazzy brunch music to start our service off this morning. And as always, thank you to Kai Fast and Pete Titcomb, who are running tech today. Good morning. How are you? My name is Hillary Collins-Gilpatrick. I'm the minister of First Universalist Church in Yarmouth, and it's with great joy that I say, whoever you are, wherever you are from, whomever you love, whatever you've done, you are welcome here. And we're so glad you've joined us for our perennial Flower Communion service, my first with you all. Hopefully next year, it can be in real life. The Flower Communion was first enacted on June 4th in 1923 by Reverend Norbert Čapek, the founding minister of the Unitarian Church in Prague. As the story goes, one spring, Reverend Čapek was out walking on a beautiful day and stopped to look at all the beautiful flowers growing all around him, in all their different colors and scents and shapes and sizes. And as he stood there looking at all this beauty, he had an idea. He asked his congregation to each bring a flower with them to their next Sunday service. It did not matter what kind of flower or how big or small it was, just bring a flower that you found beautiful. And the next Sunday, everyone brought a flower and placed them in vases all around their sanctuary. Reverend Čapek said to them, "These flowers are like us, different colors and different shapes and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care. but each beautiful, each important and special in its own way. When he was done speaking, the people rose, greeted one another, and each chose a flower from the vases to take home with them. And that was it. Share a flower, accept a flower. Sacred, simple beauty. Of course, on the virtual platform that served as our sanctuary this year, it's a little challenging to hold this traditional flower communion that we know so well and love. But nonetheless, my friends, it's still easy to love and appreciate flowers, plants, and the earth together on Zoom. So today in our service, we'll do just that. Appreciate the diverse beauty of our living earth together. I invite you to have a flower or plant near you during this service, if you can. Following my homily, I'll offer a short meditation on these plants. And yes, if you're able to come to our church grounds at noon today, as Joanna announced, we'll have an in-person flower communion ritual outdoors in the Earth's Cathedral. Bring a flower to share then, if you can. Our opening words are a poem by Langston Hughes, celebrated writer, poet, activist, and key figure in the Harlem Renaissance. Today on Flower Communion Sunday, we read his poem, Earth Song. It's an earth song, and I've been waiting so long for an earth song. It's a spring song. I've been waiting long for a spring song. Strong as the bursting of young buds, strong as the shoots of a new plant, strong as the coming of the first child from its mother's womb. An earth song, a body song, a spring song. I've been waiting so long for an earth song. Friends, happy Flower Communion. Our worship service has begun on this bright, colorful, and warm day. As I light the symbol of our faith, won't you join me in our chalice lighting words? We light our chalice in peace and friendship. Our opening hymn could most certainly be called an earth song. It's number 38, Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine
Nearly 100 years ago, the Unitarian minister Norbert Chopek offered his Czechoslovakian congregation a ritual to respond to their questions about how to be a community that welcomed rather than suppressed diversity. Czechoslovakia was a country formed in the aftermath of war, struggling just 5 years after the end of that war with questions of belonging and identity, trust and anxiety. Chopek's ritual took the traditional bread and wine communion that his community was too heretical for and too resistant to these usual symbols and played with this ritual. He turned instead to the beauty of nature all around them and invited each of his congregants to find a flower and bring it to the church one Sunday. That each person would find the flower that was beautiful to them was a symbol of their affirmation that each of us has a piece of the truth, our unique sense of what beauty means. On their way into the church, his congregation was in turn invited, each of them, to place that flower in a vase, which symbolized their free choice to enter into community alongside all the other people that saw beauty in their own way, symbolized by their flowers placed there as well. A free church where people freely choose to walk together across their differences. Once everyone had gathered, they'd bring the vase forward. Then the minister, Chopek, he would bless it. And then he'd invite everyone to choose a flower to take home with them, but just not the one that they came with. Again, this free choice affirmed each person's choice to be blessed by another and to receive with an open heart their different understandings of beauty and to feel connected rather than divided by this difference. In this moment where so many forces seek to divide people, to play on our fears of differences and our anxieties of the other, here we remember that we freely choose to walk together and to be blessed by the differences between us and to see these differences as beauty.
In honor of our fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth, this month's half-plate recipient is Maine Public Connect. Partnering with Maine Immigrants' Right Coalition and Amjambo Africa, an inclusive immigrant-led publication, Maine Public Connect provides access for new Mainers to reliable information about what is taking place in the immediate world around them in French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Somali. You're invited to make your offering using the donate button in the order of worship. By clicking this link, you will be taken to Give Butter, a virtual giving site that accepts a card number, PayPal, and Venmo accounts. You may also give your offering by dropping a check in the mail or by using your bank's free bill pay feature. This morning's offering has now been requested and will be gratefully received. Thank you.
strangest thought came to me on this morning as I awake to greet the coming dawn. The sun was hardly peeking through the garden. It felt that with everything I was one. Then I wished that I could come back as a flower, as a flower, as a flower. How I wish that I could come back as a flower, as a flower, for the sweetness of love, for the sweetness of love. The dew had finished making love to many. A rainbow smelling sweet was in the air. I envied all the silence I saw growing, so unmoved by things outside themselves. Then how I wish that I could come back as a flower, as a flower, as a flower. How I wish that I could come back as a flower, as a flower, to spread the sweetness of love, to spread the sweetness of love.
Thank you, Sam. Our reading today is by the widely published and highly acclaimed poet, activist, June Jordan. And just a note, both of the readings I've shared today have been published in this brilliant poetry anthology, Black Nature, 4 Centuries of African American Poetry. I recommend it. And the poem I read from June Jordan today is a poem I wouldn't be surprised if I used in another worship service on Sunday. It's a juicy one. And it is entitled Letter to the Local Police. And just a note that this poem is on the longer side, so just take a breath, clear your mind, and settle into it with me. Letter to the local police. Dear Sirs, I have been enjoying the law and order of our community throughout the past 3 months since my wife and I, our 2 cats, and miscellaneous photographs of the 6 grandchildren belonging to our previous neighbors, with whom we were very close, arrived in Saratoga Springs, which is clearly prospering under your custody. Indeed, until yesterday afternoon, and despite my vigilant casting about, I have been unable to discover a single instance of reasons for public-spirited concern, much less complaint. You may easily appreciate then how it is that I write to your office at this date with utmost regret for the lamentable circumstances that force my hand. Speaking directly to the issue of the moment, I have encountered a regular profusion of certain unidentified roses growing to no discernible purpose and according to no perceptible control, approximately 1/4 mile west of the Northway on the southern side. To be specific, there are practically thousands of the aforementioned abiding in near perpetual riot of wild behavior, indiscriminate coloring, and only the good Lord himself can say what diverse soliciting of promiscuous cross-fertilization. As I say, these roses, no matter what the apparent background, training, tropistic tendencies, age, or color, do not demonstrate the least inclination towards categorization, specified allegiance, resolute preference, consideration of the needs of others, or any other minimal traits of decency. May I point out that I did not assiduously seek out this colony, as it were, and that these certain unidentified roses remain open to viewing even by children, with or without suitable supervision. My wife asks me to append a note as regards the seasonal, but nevertheless seriously licentious phenomenon of honeysuckle under the moon that one may apprehend at the corner of Nelson and Maine. However, I have recommended that she undertake direct correspondence with you as regards this, yet another civic disturbance in our midst. I am confident that you will devise and pursue appropriate legal response to the roses in question. If I may aid your efforts in this request, please do not hesitate to call me in consultation. Respectfully, yours. It's a juicy one. I also just want to note, while I was reading that poem to you, this packet of wildflower seeds fell out of my book. I don't know where that came from, but feels fortuitous. All right, so a handful of summers ago, I lived and worked at a Tibetan Buddhist retreat center on the top of a steep hill in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, the Milarepa Center. I was the gardener there for a summer. It was great. When not trying to meditate, I spent most of my days tending the vegetable and flower beds, turning the compost, staring out at the mountains, and carrying Japanese beetles down the hill. You see, each morning, the center staff awoke before dawn to practice meditation, pray, and recite daily vows together. These vows, known as the 5 precepts, are considered the basic code of ethics for Buddhist practitioners. When you take the 5 precepts, you vow to abstain from stealing, lying, consuming intoxicants, engaging in sexual misconduct, and killing sentient beings. If you're in need of a project this week, my friends, I encourage you to take on the precepts for a few days and just see what happens. Suffice to say, when I arrived at Milarepa and learned that staff took the precepts each morning, I had a few questions about how this would work with my gardening responsibilities. I remember talking with Venerable Amy, the nun who served as the center director and teacher, about some possible leeway with the killing sentient beings rule. So, I began, since part of gardening is pest management, I hate to say it, but I think there are going to be days when sentient beings are killed in the garden. What if there weren't days when beings were killed in our garden? She replied. I mean, Japanese beetles, squash bugs, mosquitoes, ticks. We don't want these in the garden or biting us, right? Hillary, is killing the only way to grow a garden? I mean, I guess not. Good. Finding a way to keep all sentient beings from harm and bring joy to as many sentient beings as you can may be your real job this summer. I look forward to seeing how the garden can serve you in this practice. Yeah, me too. And that was that. Thus began my summer of growing beautiful vegetables and flowers for people I loved and wanted to bring joy, and blowing countless mosquitoes off my arms, tending a personal veggie patch for the resident woodchuck, and carrying many jars of Japanese beetles down the steep hill to a faraway field. While carrying these jars of pests, these jars of sentient living beings who wanted happiness and did not want to suffer, down the hill a few times a day, I would recite the Medicine Buddha mantra over and over again. Om Bakanze Bakanze Maha Bakanze Bakanze Raja Samugate Soa. Om Bakanze Bakanze Maha Bakanze Bakanze Raja Samugate Soa. The Medicine Buddha is blue, a color that symbolizes purification and healing in Tibetan Buddhism. And the Medicine Buddha is a being that represents non-discriminating compassion. The purpose of reciting the Medicine Buddha mantra is twofold. It's a prayer that those afflicted with mental and physical pain are comforted, healed, and freed from suffering. And it is a prayer for ourselves, those of us reciting the mantra, that we obtain the ability to practice non-discriminating compassion, or in other words, that we gain the ability to feel and express loving kindness for every being without judgment, hesitation, or resistance. No matter who you are, where you're from, whom you love, what you've done. Om Bakanze Bakanze Maha Bakanze Bakanze Raja Samugate Soa. By the end of my 3-month stay at Milarepa, I had recited thousands of Medicine Buddha mantras, come to an armistice with a damn woodchuck, and amazingly grown a pretty lush vegetable garden while I was at it. Turns out, killing is not necessary to grow a garden. Go figure. Granted, I still broke the precept to kill fairly regularly, especially when it came to aphids and ticks. But my tendency to kill mindlessly or joyfully with relief was gone. When I found a tick on me, I said a prayer for it before squashing it with a rock, fully present to my intentions, my choice, and the actions that followed. Now, friends, I am not suggesting that you learn to love ticks and mosquitoes this summer and take to saving their lives. No. Rather, I am inviting you today to take care with your actions and take care with the earth. I'm sure some of you would argue that we need to kill these pesky beings because there are so many of them. Yes, and the argument could also be made that the mass profusion of these bugs is due to humans acting carelessly and aggressively towards the earth for centuries. We got to shift this paradigm of carelessness to carefulness somehow. Why not just start with recognizing you're going to kill a mosquito when you're going to kill a mosquito? Friends, I tell you this Vermont vignette on Flower Communion Sunday as a way of lifting your awareness to the life that abounds all around you and the remarkable ability you have to choose in your daily interactions with all this life to be discriminate or indiscriminate with your compassion. To many in our UU faith, Flower Communion is a ritual that celebrates the unique beauty each of us brings to our beloved community. And yes, how beautiful that diversity is. However, let us not forget the origins of the Flower Communion ritual, that it was first held in Eastern Europe in 1923, following World War I, as the leaders who would come to organize the Third Reich gained popularity. Reverend Norbert Čapek continued to celebrate the flower ritual in his church through the Second World War until he himself was apprehended by the Gestapo in 1942 and brought to Dachau, where he, among many beings who deserved happiness and did not want to suffer, met a torturous end. Flower communion, therefore, is a celebration of the diversity of our faith and community, yes, but to me, it is also a celebration of the unique ability each of us possesses to alleviate suffering, dismantle oppression, and offer indiscriminate compassion to all beings. This ability to shift our carelessness to carefulness, this power each of us has to become conscious of our impulses and then choose to act in such a way that reduces suffering and brings joy is our true beauty. I can't think of anything more beautiful, in fact. Talking with Reverend Mike Johnson earlier this week, she shared in wonderful and hilarious detail the recent progress she's made on a big landscaping project in her backyard. As she concluded her tale, she remarked, I'm not sure how I got so consumed with this project, but when I'm out there working on this little patch of earth, I feel like my care and attention is like a prayer for all the earth. A prayer that all the earth receives such care and attention, and a prayer that I will always offer such care and attention to the earth. And there it is, friends. Let your care be a prayer. Let your care for our community be a prayer for our community. Let your care of the earth be a prayer for the earth. Oma vakanze, vakanze, maha vakanze, vakanze, rajasamagate soa. In closing, won't you join me now in a short meditation in honor of flower communion? If you have one, bring a flower near to you or a plant. Or you can position yourself in such a way that you're facing a window that looks out to a patch of earth. And if no such option is available, just close your eyes and let an image of a flower or a plant come to mind. If you're working on a project right now, moving around, eating, I invite you to set down what's in your hands and just be still for the next couple minutes. Relax, my friends. Take in a deep, refreshing breath and exhale out any stale air in your lungs. Let yourself be quiet. And just rest your gaze on your plant. See if you can bring your full attention to this living piece of our beautiful world. Notice the shapes, the variations in color and texture that the plant has. Notice the parts of this plant or flower that seem strong, sturdy. Take a breath And remind yourself that such strength is also within you. Notice the parts of the plant that are delicate. They need to be handled with care. Take a breath and remind yourself that you too deserve care. Notice the parts of your plant or flower that are intricate. Perhaps the longer you look, the more complex your plant becomes. Take a breath and give thanks for all the complexities that make us who we wonderfully are. These are the gifts of our uniqueness. Notice the freshness and life of this plant. And as you do, take a breath of fresh air, renewing the energy in your living body. Returning your attention to your plant, take a breath to honor its life and honor the living earth all around you. And take a breath to honor your life, your body, your good body. And now, as we hold a short moment of quiet, I invite you to take a moment and offer your own prayer of thanks, care, and attention to any being, any patch of earth that calls to you for joy, compassion, and the alleviation of suffering. Won't you take a moment of quiet with me, my friends? Taking in another deep, refreshing breath now. Open your eyes, lift your heart, and join me as I offer a closing prayer. My friends, I pray today that our love grows like a profusion of roses blooming on a city street, a perpetual riot of wild, indiscriminate beauty for all to see. Let our love be a phenomenon of honeysuckle growing under the moon. Let it be an earth song, a spring song. So many have been waiting for such beautiful goodness all along. And let's not ignore this capacity we have to shift from carelessness to carefulness. And let's keep growing and blooming despite calls and letters to get our radical loving kindness under control. Friends, on this flower communion, I pray your awareness is lifted to all the diverse opportunities you have in your life to reduce harm, show compassion, and bring and experience joy. Let your care be a prayer. Let your love grow. Blessed be, and let it be so. Our closing hymn is number 63. Spring has now unwrapped the flowers.
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers. Day is fast reviving. Life in all her growing powers. Toward the light is striving. Gone the iron touch of cold. Winter time and frost time. Seedlings working through the mold now make up for lost time. Herb and plant that winter long slumbered at their leisure now be stirring green and strong, find in growth their pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, gold the green and heads sing. Flowers make glee among the hills, set the meadows dancing.
Thanks so much for joining us on our virtual flower communion service, my friends. A reminder that we will meet on our church grounds at noon to participate in a in-person ritual. Hope to see you there, flower in hand. Before that time comes, though, won't you join me in our time of closing prayer and benediction? May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience profound joy in the causes of profound joy. May we all be free to care for ourselves, for our others, and for our earth. Please join me in the words of our unison benediction. For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. And for those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Our service has ended. Please enjoy a postlude by Sam as you get ready for your Sunday afternoon.